There is a trap that comes with desire. The moment you start chasing more, your current life becomes no longer good enough. Most people are pursuing a better version of life, but in doing so have become dissatisfied and unhappy with the one they currently have. Whether this is any sort of improved version of ourselves, next iteration, next income level, car, house, whatever the goal, your mind at some point starts to think, I want this new version. I don't have it yet, therefore what I have right now sucks. And I think this is quietly becoming a huge problem for women. You end up living in this dissatisfied in-between, exhausted and unenthusiastic about your current life, but being unhappy and impatient while trying to build the one you want. And ultimately, this leads to a pretty unenjoyable way to live, one where everything could feel so good, but you're too occupied with what you don't have to enjoy what's already right in front of you. 18 months ago, I was stuck living in that dissatisfied in between. I was living objectively a good life. Healthy, had my own business, earning good money, lived in a beautiful city, surrounded by people I loved, but I was consumed by what I didn't have. I almost resented the life I was currently living, waiting to feel good once I reached the next version of it. And I had to be honest with myself and ask the question, do I really want to continue feeling like my life is not enough for the next 50, 60 years? Because this is the thing, this isn't the rehearsal. There's no do-over. Life is already happening right now. We can either enjoy it while it's happening or resent it while we wait for an imaginary arrival point. That's the reality I had to face. So I figured out how to want more for myself without hating what I already have. And I've been living and refining it since. So if you want to actually enjoy your current life while you're building the next version of it, give yourself the next 30 days to sit with what I'm about to share in this video, because this is how you rebuild a healthy relationship with your current reality while still being excited about what's next. This all starts with overconsumption. We're not meant to process this much of other people's lives, and it completely warps our sense of what enough looks like. Every single day, without even realizing it, we're consuming hundreds of tiny windows into other people's lives. Their biggest wins, their highest moments, their curated highlight reel that's been filtered, smoothed, cropped and cropped again. Every success story reminding you you're not there yet. And you can know it's curated, but it still gets in. Your brain doesn't separate their moment from your lack of it. You start measuring your own life against somebody else's timeline, comparing where you are to where they seem to be. I mean, how can you not? Even the most grounded, self-aware women get hit by that invisible pressure. This level of exposure becomes some kind of distorted mirror that only reflects what you think you're missing. We've built a comparison culture so intense that it's become one of the biggest emotional drains for women right now, especially when the gap between real life and performed life has never been bigger. You end up with this warped idea of what's realistic and what's normal. And slowly, without you noticing, your own life starts to feel dull. The small things that used to feel good, your morning routine, the progress you're making, your weekends, the things you genuinely enjoy, suddenly just feel flat. Because in the back of your mind, you're already comparing them to someone else's version. You want a better life because you know you're capable of it, and that's a beautiful thing. But when ambition is constantly filtered through comparison, it sort of mutates. The drive that's meant to move you forward becomes the very thing that makes you feel behind. Because you're consuming so much, you become impatient. You want the next chapter now. This is exactly where I got stuck, especially in my career. I'd scroll and see someone hitting crazy numbers, someone growing faster, someone buying something new. And even though I knew half of it was exaggerated, it still affected me. It made me so impatient with my own journey. I had goals I wanted to hit and I wanted them immediately. I kind of turned into this little toddler having a meltdown because I wanted dessert even though I hadn't eaten my vegetables yet. One of our biggest superpowers is our ability to adapt to things, but that is also the reason so many of us are never satisfied. Our bodies are designed to constantly bring us back to balance. There's an actual biological term for it, homeostasis, a state of internal steadiness where everything feels normal again. And your mind works the exact same way. It adapts, it stabilizes. It's always adapting and trying to find its state of balance. In most cases, this is great. It obviously keeps us alive, so no one complains on that front, but very annoying when trying to pursue more for myself without hating what I already have. If you're on the path to bettering yourself and your life, ideally you're reaching goals and milestones regularly. But the moment you reach a goal, any goal, your brain immediately resets the baseline. What used to feel exciting becomes just how things are now. And without even realizing it, the high disappears and something new gets placed in front of you to chase. I guarantee you've had this happen with goals you've reached in the past and felt how quickly you normalize this as your new baseline. You hit a milestone, and 2 seconds later, you're already thinking about the next one. This belief that the next achievement is when you'll finally feel content, calm, complete. But that finish line never stays still. Every time you get close, the goalpost moves. Every milestone that was supposed to make you feel happy just becomes your new baseline, another thing you adapt to. And this is why so many women live in a constant state of dissatisfaction. Success culture and comparison culture both teach you to resent every version of your life except the imaginary future one. You convince yourself, once I get there, then I'll feel better. But there doesn't actually exist. It keeps shifting the moment you get near it. The speed we normalize and become numb to any sort of goal we achieve or new level we reach is absolutely wild. I've experienced this over and over again, but the clearest example for me was my weight loss journey. I used to be over 80 pounds heavier, and that was my reality for a really long time. All I wanted was to not be the big girl anymore. I wanted to feel confident in my skin. And after years of trying, failing, trying again, I finally made it happen. I lost the weight. I felt healthier, more confident, and just more myself. But the high lasted about 2 seconds. Something that took me years, literal years to achieve, became my new normal almost instantly. Instead of celebrating it, I bulldozed straight into the next thing I thought I needed. A new goal, a new improvement, a new version of me that still wasn't good enough. That's the mirage, the belief that there's an arrival point, a moment where you finally feel settled, proud, at peace, when in reality, the closer you get to it, the further away it moves. And if you don't see this pattern for what it is, you'll spend your entire life running, never stopping long enough to actually enjoy the life you're building. When life starts feeling too heavy to enjoy and too slow to change, escaping it quietly becomes the only way we know how to cope. Amidst all this dissatisfaction with our current reality, while striving for the better version, we have developed a reliance on escapism, using this to soothe how we feel. When you're unhappy with where you are, but exhausted by the effort it takes to reach where you want to be, escape starts to feel like the only kind of relief you can access. A holiday, binge watching, retail therapy, anything to distract and detach. We call it recharging, but most of the time we're not actually recharging. We're recovering from the lives we built, the pressure, the impatience, the constant feeling of not enough yet. And think about how normalized this has become. You go on a weekend getaway, and the moment you come home, you hear yourself say, "Back to reality," as if reality is the punishment and the getaway is the relief, as if your real life is something you need to escape from. Why is the life you live every day the part that feels heavy, and the escape the part that feels like freedom? I've traveled a lot, genuinely more places than I can count. And once I really started paying attention to how people spoke about holidays, it honestly made me sad. Because yes, holidays can be grounding and beautiful, but if peace only exists when you've removed yourself from your own life, something is off. Your life shouldn't be the thing you run away from. Your life should be the thing you love coming home to. Escapism has become this huge part of our lives, mostly without us even realizing it. It's so ingrained into our day-to-day that most people aren't even aware they're actually trying to escape their current reality. Here's the part we don't often admit. Dissatisfaction can actually work. Running away from pain is one of the strongest forms of motivation we have. And to be honest, there is a case to be made for it. For using that heaviness, that frustration, that I can't live like this anymore energy as fuel. Because when you're hurting or uncomfortable or fed up, you move differently. People using their pain as a source of motivation is so common, but it's because that stuff works. We really do feel another level of determined when you're running away from pain. It gets you out of situations you don't want to be in. It is the default method of motivation, I feel, for most of us, and for good reason. Think of how many wildly successful people got to where they are because they couldn't stand the life they had. They weren't chasing a dream, they were trying to outrun a nightmare. And it gave them this almost superhuman drive. You never see a high-level sports person or businesswoman that is saying in an interview that they just got there because it was a lovely experience. It's generally seeded in some difficult situation they were pushing to get out of, and we are programmed to praise the struggle of them doing so. When you hear a story about someone successful, their pain becomes the highlight. We admire the woman who built a business from nothing more than we admire the woman who grew up with every resource handed to her. It's hard to root for the rich kids that went to the Olympics compared to the people that were homeless and trained without the right equipment. And in so many ways, we've been conditioned to believe it's the best way to improve your life. I don't like this, so I'm going to do something about it. That's the mindset most of us were raised on. And I won't pretend that I haven't used it. Almost every goal I chased before the last year was rooted in dissatisfaction, in trying to escape some version of my life I didn't want anymore. Whether it was my body, my habits, my business, my relationships, so much of my progress came from trying to get away from something that felt wrong. But I believe you can only use this for so long. It doesn't teach you how to enjoy the life you're building. It only teaches you how to sprint away from the one you're in. And if the only way you know how to grow is by being unhappy first, you end up addicted to dissatisfaction. You start believing you need to dislike your life in order to improve it. Yes, dissatisfaction can push you forward, but it can also keep you stuck in a life you don't actually want to live. There are benefits to using discomfort as fuel, but if you stay in that state long term, it becomes emotionally expensive. There are two core reasons you should be striving to actually enjoy and feel fulfilled by your current life while building the next version. To learn how to want more without resenting where you are. The first reason is simple. Why would you want to spend your one life feeling unhappy with the life you're actually living? At some point, you have to look at the logic of it. What's the point of being here right now if you spend the majority of your time feeling disconnected, impatient, or constantly longing for a version of life that's always just one step ahead? It's like chasing $100 bill someone is dangling on a fishing rod. You'll run for it, but you'll never catch it. And the whole time, the life you're already in gets ignored because you're too focused on the one you don't have. At some point, you have to take responsibility for how you feel and realize, I don't have to live in this mindset. I don't have to feel behind. I'm allowed to experience this differently. Your time is the most valuable thing you have. Wasting years, sometimes decades, in a state of dissatisfaction because you think it's the required mindset for growth, that's not a life. It's just an emotional limbo. And if there is a way to enjoy your current life while building the next version, why wouldn't you choose that path? Who said you have to hate your life to improve it? Who said growth can't come from play, curiosity, and enjoyment? I don't want my life to be a constant emotional grind. I want it to feel beautiful as I'm building it. And the second reason is this. The fastest way to upgrade your life is to stop hating where you are. I genuinely believe that in the long run, trying to grow from a place of satisfaction and enjoyment is far more powerful than doing so out of frustration. The sweet spot, the one I guide every client into, is being able to hold both. Enjoyment in the now and desire for what's next. That's the mindset I've spent the last 12 to 18 months cultivating for myself. It isn't about choosing stagnation or choosing progress. It's about building from the middle, where you can enjoy your current life and still take intentional action towards the next version. And this is where I always think back to when I was fitness coaching. Over the years, I coached over 300 girls one-on-one, and I must have said the same sentence 10 times a day. You have to fall in love with the process, because nobody in their right mind wants to weigh their food, track their steps, or lift heavy things every other day if they hate the process. But I knew if I could get them to fall in love with the process, I could get them insane results consistently. And the same principle applies to life. No one wants to wake up to an alarm, deal with traffic, pay bills, clean the house if they hate their day-to-day. It's the daily experience that builds you. It's the day-to-day that shapes your identity. And if you can fall in love with that, your routines, your environment, your mornings, your evenings, everything else becomes easier. That's the platform real growth comes from. You build a life that feels good now, and then you expand from there. 99% of people would be 10 times happier if they were obsessed with the life they already have. The real transformation isn't about lowering your standards or killing off your ambitions. It's about improving your relationship with desire itself. So many women try to solve their dissatisfaction with their current situation by shrinking, by convincing themselves they shouldn't want so much. They want this better life for themselves and they're unhappy with where they are, so they convince themselves to remove any ambitions they have just so they don't have to feel the discomfort of not being there yet. Eliminating your desires isn't what we want. I don't believe the answer is to want less, because the problem isn't that you want more for yourself. The problem is that you've forgotten how to feel good in what you already have while you're building towards what's next. You just need to change how you experience your current reality, how you see your life, and how you shape it. Because when you shift both of those things, you realize you can love your life as it is while still becoming the next version of yourself. You don't have to choose between the now and the next. Romanticizing your life isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about learning to emotionally engage with the small, ordinary moments that actually make up most of your life. Romanticizing your day-to-day life is the key to actually enjoying your existence, to enjoying the journey itself. Because if you don't enjoy the journey, you won't stay in it for long enough to build the life you want. It starts with noticing what's already around you, finding meaning in the ordinary days, actually paying attention to the life you're already living. This is the art of emotional engagement with now. Noticing, appreciating, and being present with the moments you usually rush through. Most of your time here isn't spent in the big peak events. It's not the holidays, the birthdays, the weddings, the fancy dinners. Most of your life is lived in the in-between, the mundane, everyday moments that feel small but make up the majority of your actual existence. That's why enjoying your day-to-day life and finding beauty in the small things is the foundation. Those peak experiences should be layered on top. But if they're the only parts of your life that feel good, you end up living in a constant fog of dissatisfaction, always waiting for the next shiny moment to arrive. Loving the in-between matters because that's where most of your life actually happens. Choosing to find beauty in your life as it is without needing it to perform or impress is like this act of defiance against the culture of self-improvement. The simple moments don't feel special while they're happening, but they're the ones you end up missing later. The so-called filler scenes are the story itself. Romanticize your life because you're the one who has to live it. Make it feel so good that you stop counting down to the next time you get to step away from it. We can get so sucked into the day-to-day that we don't even see how much is going on around us. Now, I bet at some point when you were younger, or even just a year or two ago, you would have absolutely killed to be where you are now and to be the woman you are now. But you rarely stop long enough to realize that. You rushed towards this life, you worked for it, you dreamed about it. And yet now that you're here, you forget to even notice it. We're so focused on the next thing, the next level, the next version of ourselves, that we forget we're already living out something a past version of us used to beg for. The life you once rushed towards is very likely the life you're living right now. It just doesn't look like the perfectly cinematic version you imagined in your head. And that's the problem with constantly pushing forward. You don't get a chance to recognize that the thing you take for granted today were probably once the things you desperately wanted. Your home, your independence, your friendships, your health, your routines, your opportunities, the way you carry yourself. So many of these were once a goal of yours. And now they're just your normal. Realizing this is what actually breaks the addiction to progress. It's the attachment to progress that keeps you feeling behind. When you finally see where you are through the eyes of who you used to be, you feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Genuine, grounded satisfaction. I remember I saw a tweet once that said, "I feel like I'm constantly worrying about the next part of my life without realizing I'm already in the middle of what I used to look forward to." And I swear it hit me so hard, I had to stop what I was doing because it's so true. You always look past the life you used to want so badly. You're always looking so far forward that you forget to look around. Perspective turns waiting to arrive into actually enjoying where you are. It softens you. It brings you back into your life instead of mentally living in the next version of it. This is how you reclaim your presence, not by forcing some fake gratitude, but by realizing you're already standing in the very reality you used to hope for. You don't change your circumstances first. You just change how you experience them. You change how you see your life and how you feel inside. And suddenly the life you're building becomes something you get to enjoy, not something you're trying to escape.